Hey guys, Pogo here, and welcome to the next episode of Plugins for Sponge. In this episode, we're going to start working on an MOTD plugin, Message of the Day plugin. This is going to take a couple of episodes to get fully done, but this is one of my favorite plugins to start with early on because it allows you to explore a lot of different areas that all come together in a meaningful way to make a good plugin. The way that this plugin will work is that whenever the player joins the server, they will receive some sort of message. And generally, it will just say, welcome to the server. It'll have the name of the server, maybe a list of people or administrators, at least online. If the server accepts money, then it might have information about that. If there's some sort of announcement, like a new game or some sort of change or scheduled maintenance, then it would probably show up there. In this first part, we're going to get it set up so that when the player joins, it'll send them a hard-coded message. But then we're going to eventually do things where the message can be configured in a configuration file and then loaded in. And, it can display dynamic data like the current time or the current number of people on the server. And you could even do things like permissions, and you could say, players with certain permissions get to see different MOTDs. But we're going to look at two important things today. The first one, which is one of the most important things or one of the main parts of the Sponge API, is the event system. We're just going to look at that a little bit in detail. And then we're also going to look a little bit more in detail at the texts class and how we can actually make colored and stylized text. So that's going to be pretty interesting. So to begin, first of all, I have this project set up. It is, of course, a Maven project, and you can set that up. I think in the first two videos in this series, I set it up, especially the first one, so I would watch that if you don't know how to set it up. Otherwise, word of caution, if you're going to copy one of your projects and paste it again, make sure that you go into your pom.xml and you change the artifact ID and the name right there. You need to make sure that you do that. And then also up here, change all the plugin ID and the name and maybe the version. I don't know. But I have this all set up here, and I have the onInitialization, the initialization event. But this is actually the perfect opportunity to talk about the event system. I mentioned it a little bit in some of the previous episodes of this series, but let's get into a little bit more detail now. So an event system is sort of a passive way of looking at different things that could possibly happen in a game. So when we talk about Minecraft, there are all kinds of different events that could occur on a server. It could be something between players. Players are attacking each other. One player attacks another player. One player attacks a mob. One player breaks a block. All of those different things. It could be, again, block events. A block being broken. A block being burnt. It could be a player looking through an inventory or, picking an item up out of an inventory. It could be a player joining or leaving the server. It could be the server starting up or shutting down. There are all kinds of different events. And what the event system does is it lets us say that we want to listen for these particular things to happen. And when they do happen, give us some information, and then we're going to do something based on the information that we get. And I say that it's passive because we're not constantly checking to see if something is happening. We're not, sorting through all of the packets that come in and saying, oh, is this packet interesting to us? Is this some piece of data that we care about? No, we're actually letting the server implementation, whether it's Bukkit or Sponge, handle that, and all we have to do is wait for something to happen, and then Sponge will let us know that it happened with all of the relevant data, and then we can deal with it. So the first part, first of all events are written as methods. You write a method with the event as a parameter, and then the method will be automatically called by Sponge when it needs to. The first thing that you always do is you write @subscribe with a capital S. The @ means that it's called an annotation. It's just a little piece of information that you can put on a method. And you'll see we also have this @plugin. That's another annotation. That one will go on the class. But all this says is that this method is referring to some sort of event, and it lets Sponge know that it should use this method if whatever event I care about happens to occur. So again, this is a method, so public void. It's void because we're not going to return anything. We can cancel certain events, but that's actually a method inside of the event, so we don't return a Boolean or anything. It's void. The name can be whatever you want. I always use on and then whatever the name of the event is. So on initialization. We're going to use the player join event, so I write on player join. Whatever you want there. It doesn't really make any difference at all. Then you will have one parameter. It's going to be the name of the event. This is the initialization event that is called when the server is initialized. It's sort of like on enable and bucket, which isn't actually an event. So the parameter is the event class, and then I always call them E. You could call it event or EVT or whatever you want to do with it. So this is listening for the initialization event. The initialization event is called, or the initialization event happens whenever the server starts up. So it'll happen one time, and that is when the server starts up, or rather when the plugin is initialized, which happens when the server is started up. So it's pretty much the same thing. And if we take a look at E dot, we can see all of the data that we get here. This is, everything that is associated with the event. We can get the game, which is sort of like bucket.getServer. It has all of that important stuff in it. And of course, the server is being initialized, so the game would be initialized, or it is already, and then we can get access to it. And that's actually it here. There's the get callback list, but we're not going to worry about callbacks. So the only important thing there is that we can get the game if we want to. And this is really just used for registering commands and stuff like that. It's the initialization. Okay, we don't actually need to register events. In Bucket you do, in Spigot you don't. So we don't need to do any get event manager.register events or anything. So we actually don't need the on initialization. I'm just going to leave it because we will need it in the future. The next one, we're going to actually write the player join event. So we always start with @subscribe to tell Sponge that this is a special method. It's a method that is listening for an event. So public void, and I'm going to call it on player join. You can call it whatever you want. And it's a player join event, and I always name the parameter E. So we're going to import that, and you'll see org.spongepower.api.event.entity.player.player join event. So there it is. And this is an event. So let's take a look at what data we get here. We have get entity, which is the player that just joined the server. And that's obviously going to be the most important thing. When a player joins, you need to know which player joined. In this case, we're going to send them a message. There's also get game, which I believe all of these events have, or almost all of these events have, so that you can get the game, and that basically contains all of the important stuff in it. Command dispatcher, event manager, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So that's very important. Then there's the location, which would be the location where the player will spawn, whether it's their last location or it's the spawn of the world, the spawn point. There's also the message, which is, I guess that would be the message that says the players joined the game. And, all that stuff. There's also get source and get player, or get user. So I guess that get user is the same as get entity. Not a big deal. And then you can actually set the location if you want to change where they get spawned. You can set the message that will result. But what we want to do is we want to get the player and we want to send them a message. So we'll do get entity, which gives us the player involved. And we're going to do send message. And you'll remember that we don't just write a string in there. It's not quite that simple. And if we want to use colors, we can't use chat color. If I try to write chat color dot, nothing shows up and I can't import anything. So chat color doesn't exist here either. There's that whole text system, and we've always been just doing texts.of, and then in quotes you write whatever you want, hi. And it seems like a little bit of extra work that doesn't really make sense here. We write text.of, and then in quotes we write hi. Instead of just writing hi in quotes, why can't we just do that? And the reason why is because Sponge, the text system, is actually pretty sophisticated, because all of those newer features of Minecraft, the JSON messages where you can have hover actions, that open up links or do different things or send messages and all of that are built right into Sponge. So you don't have to do that send raw message and encode some JSON. Sponge will actually take care of it for you. So when we do text.of and we write hi, it's just going to give us hi in normal letters. But what you can actually do is, before that, you can write something like text colors dot, there we go, dot, and then there's all the text colors. So that's pretty much the same thing as chat color. It's just text colors this time. And we can choose one. I always like gold, that's my favorite color. And you don't write a plus there, you put a comma. And it says text colors dot of, and you'll see that this one takes an array of objects. So you stick a bunch of objects in there. You'll notice that a text color and a string are obviously different, but Sponge will automatically play around with these objects and make texts out of them. So that's pretty cool. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it, which is a little bit more verbose, but probably maybe a good habit to get into, is if you look, you'll see that there's a texts.builder. And what you can do here is you can write the text builder, and you can put in there, our text hi, and then you can look and see all of these different options that you have here. So, of course, we have color, so we want text colors.gold. So we set the color, and again, this is a builder, so we do color, and then we can do dot and do something else. We can change the content. If I didn't write hi there, I would change the content there, or and then you can set different things. Like you can, you can do this on click, on hover, and on shift click. So you can set up all of these different things. And then you can also set the text style, which can be, we can look at that. Text styles dot bold, italic, obfuscated. That's like the shifty one where it keeps changing and you can't actually read anything. Strike through and underline. So we'll make it in bold. And then the last thing you have to do is write build. And the reason why you would want to use this one is, I guess, because you can use this append here, and you can append more. Although perhaps with this one, I guess maybe you also can. I think it does. So maybe this is a little bit longer. I'm going to leave it there, but maybe this other one will actually work out better for us. So text styles dot bold. So we'll put it in gold and then bold, and then we'll write hi. So those are the two different ways of doing it. If one of them is acting a little bit strange, or you like one more than the other, then just use it. But it's important to understand both ways that you can go about doing it. So now let's actually go ahead and try out the plugin. We don't need to register our events anywhere. No plugin.yml, none of that stuff. We have our one line of code plus the method that it took to make this. And again, this is going to be very simple, no configuration, nothing special here, but it will be the first part of the MOTD, and it'll introduce a couple of important things. So make sure you have your run configuration set up. If you don't, you're going to double click on Maven build, and you're going to you can name it MOTD or whatever that your plugin is called. You want to choose the MOTD project just like that. And under goals, you want to write clean install, so it'll generate a fresh copy every time you hit run. And then we're going to actually go ahead and hit run, or you would just hit the green button there. And you'll see that it is running and we get a success. If this is the first time running it, it might take a little bit longer because it has to download some stuff. But that one was pretty quick, 2.5 seconds. And I actually have the folder opened up already. So it's going to be in whatever your workspace is, then whatever the folder is, whatever the name of the project is, then target, and there it is. And then I also have my mods folder open up, and I was testing an MOTD plugin before, so I have one in there, and we hit replace. So now we have this inside of the mods folder in the Sponge server. So I'm going to open this up, and we need to cd first, and then we need to do java-jar, whatever the Sponge jar file is called, space run. And now we are going to let it open up. In the meantime, let's get Minecraft running here so that we can test it. And all we need to do is join the game, and then we should be able to test that it works. we're hoping that we get colored and bolded text here. So hopefully that'll work out for us. Okay, so the server is still starting. It looks like all the sponge stuff just finished. And now we have that. Okay, then all the Minecraft stuff finished. And there's the server running indeed. So I'm going to join the server, log in, and as you can see right there in gold and bold is the word hi. So as soon as the player joins the game, it will actually say the message hi. And let's just make this a little bit more like an MOTD. So we're going to say something like, welcome to my server. And just to quickly demonstrate, you can actually have multiple texts in here as far as I'm concerned. So we can actually just do comma and text colors. We'll do one in aqua. I love aqua. And then we'll underline it, and then we'll write have a nice time. Okay. And then, so of course we need to do another clean install. And then we gotta drag it over, so it's not quite as easy, but it's not bad at all, so I'm not gonna complain. And of course there's also no reload command, so we have to actually stop and restart the server. It's actually a smart idea because reloading plugins can cause issues sometimes, so kind of forcing the server to restart is probably the better idea, although if you're running a server that has a lot of people on it and you're trying to update a plugin, you might not like that too much, so it's all good, it's all good. We're getting this started up here, and great. Now let's join in, and let's see if it works. So it does say hello, it says welcome to my server, have a nice time. You'll see that it's not actually on a new line, which is pretty obvious. I don't know why I didn't think of that. But of course, because we have send message here, it's actually going to send it on one line. I'd have to split it into two different calls. But of course, we would want to put a space right after that. So it says, welcome to my server, and then have a nice time. But you can see that you can have multiple different styles all set up here. And just to demonstrate that it does work on two lines, we'll just do one more. So I did add a space there to make it nice. We'll do this one in red, because I like that red color. We'll do this one in italics, because I like the italics. And we'll say, ask any questions. Ask, can't type today. Ask an admin. So, perfectly reasonable. Says, welcome to my server, have a nice time. Any questions, ask an admin. And that'll be two different lines. So you can kind of see how this works. And eventually we'll make this configurable so the user or the server runner, whoever runs the server, the administrator, if I can talk correctly, the administrator will open up a configuration file and they'll say, I want this XYZ to happen, this message with these colors and styles and whatever, and then we're actually going to load in the configuration file and read whatever they have, substitute in all the colors as we need to, colors and styles, and then we're going to display it. So this one's hard-coded, next one will be with the configuration. Okay, let's just test this out one last time. We can see, welcome to my server, have a nice time, in the different styles, and then we have any questions, ask an admin, and that is in red and italics on the separate line. So that is this episode. We looked at the event system, and of course we've only seen 2 events so far, but all of the future events will work in pretty much the same way. So that's just a first look and a little bit of an explanation into the event system. And then also we took a look at text colors and text styles, and we will at some point look at the rich text options like hover actions and click actions and all of that good stuff, like the achievements, just like that. So you can hover over it and it'll actually display some data. So we're going to make that happen eventually. So as always, subscribe if you want to see more, comment with what you want to learn. If you like this video, click the like button, and I will see you guys soon with some more coding. Bye for now.